All right. Well, hello, Mr. James Eckenrider, better known
Hello.
as Jim. How are you?
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Good, 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 good. I am so glad that you're here. All right. Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you. I was still kind of, I don't know, overwhelmed or surprised or whatever, but it feels good.
Yes, yes,
And
yes,
already
yes.
creating opportunities I didn't imagine.
Yeah, it's an awesome thing to have an opportunity to go even, deeper dive into what it is that you do,
Mm,
once you've had the recognition. So I am so excited for you and so happy for you. And tonight I am going to be interviewing you and asking you a few questions.
very good.
So, all right, so let's begin. So, first of all, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you became involved in CTE?
You bet. So I was a first generation college attendee, both sides of my extended family. But I grew up with many hands-on experiences in agriculture, forestry, engines, vehicles, and other equipment, and also, I guess you'd even just call it adventure. And I pursued a career in field biology, fish and wildlife biology, and somehow landed on Capitol Hill after moving from out west, and ended up working for 12 years on Capitol Hill in public policy and agricultural and environmental policy. And I had started teaching whitewater kayaking and scuba and mixed gas tech diving as sort of a side business weekend kind of thing. And I asked for a meeting at Virginia Tech here in the Washington, D.C. area to help me understand the diction of what I was witnessing in these high stress kind of learning environments. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was talking with Tom Gatewood, who was the guru of middle school. He created the notion. I don't know about you, but when I was in those grades, it was called junior high school. And he said, you need to be a middle school science teacher. And I said, oh, that sounds interesting. And he said, well, I hope it is, because the cohort starts on Monday and I need you to fill out this form. And that's probably the fastest decision I ever made. It's such a big decision I ever made, to just pivot like that. And in those experiences in your training to become a teacher, it was one of those accelerated master's programs. I did internships and I taught multiple CTE courses as a substitute, just to make money while I was getting my certification in science. And I really loved it. I got multiple job offers to teach in one school division in middle school, but they never turned into paper offers. I waited and I waited, and summer had come and I was starting to get nervous. I had taken a whole 15 months off to pursue this new career, and I wanted a piece of paper I could sign. And then Arlington, Virginia came along and said, please come interview at our career and technical um, center. And it was a job in agriculture, advanced animal biomedical sciences, but also teaching biology. And I did so. And it was awesome. I had taken multiple adult ed courses there over the years. And I worked with a wide variety of students, and I just got an accelerated approach to teaching. And I later ran Virginia Tech's math and science teacher preparation program before a economic downturn, and they retracted all those programs to Blacksburg. And I had helped Arlington start the first Governor's Career and Technical Academy during that time. And there was an affiliate of NASA who said, work wherever you want. We'll pay half your salary to work with us on some NASA education projects. And Arlington said, we need a new STEM and CTE specialist. And that just sort of became my long-term gig then, and still informs everything I do today.
Wow. I think that that's amazing and also an awesome thing, because oftentimes, we're thrusted into things and don't even, realize the path or where it's going to take us to, which leads me to our
Mm.
second question. And it says, you're clearly passionate about CTE, right? And we know that and we love that. Where does that passion come from? And why is CTE important?
Well, I think that mention I made of being a first generation college attendee, and my parents were very capable individuals, but just didn't have opportunities. And I think that has really informed my perspective on all of this. And I'd say I'm really enthusiastic about discovering or creating ways to provide those equitable opportunities or access to meaningful, transformative learning experiences, or you could even say experiential learning too, for all students. So, well, I should say I'm also really enthusiastic about career and college exploration for prospective first generation college students and starting at a young age. Um, Most young people know the jobs or careers of their parents' friends, or the friends' parents, or the adults that they interact with as a kid, dentists, doctors, police officers, etc. But not much more. And we're asking them to make all these decisions starting in seventh grade about the courses they take and the academic pathways they follow. And they do it without a longer term vision, or at least a well informed longer term vision. I want them to discover what their interests are. I want them to discover what they enjoy, what skills and dispositions they may already have, and maybe how to develop new skills, and then learn about the real world aspects of those jobs that do genuinely interest them. Now, um, this may get cut out, but what I just described requires rational thought. And it's for that reason that I actually don't use the word passion. Passion typically means unbridled enthusiasm. And as a longtime educator, I don't want to see anything unbridled in my classroom or my workplace, but I know how the word passion has
Yeah,
come to be used.
yeah,
But let's say someone is passionate about something like dancing or travel. I would want them to have a job they enjoy and find meaningful, skills that they do well, and a salary that's enough to thrive. And that would likely mean that they have the time and the resources to pursue what really is their passion,
yeah,
whether they're good at it or not, or whether, and also I know this, many people who've pursued their passion end up disappointed or worse. And I've got a whole lot of former students who wanted to be artists because I taught in what Arlington, or the Washington Post called Arlington's hippie high school, who went on to become artists who are now 40, and they're saying, "Hey, Jim, what programming language should I learn?" They're sort of at this point where they've just hit a dead end in whatever they really imagine themselves doing. And I don't want that for them.
yeah, yeah. So now, why do you say CTE is important?
Oh, well, I guess the big reason um, is is that CTE delivers the T and the E in STEM that everybody says is the foundation for the jobs of our future. It also delivers the applied sciences and the applied mathematics. So CTE gives younger learners a chance to really explore something they imagine they would be interested in. So, for example, in my advanced animal biomedical science course, I had a whole lot of prospective veterinarians, people who loved animals and imagined they would be veterinarians. But when they saw blood and they learned how often a veterinarian has to euthanize animals, and then they learned 99 or so other animal related careers I introduced them to, they said, wait a second, I'd rather do that. And some said, I'd much rather be a veterinary technician where I get to do everything but I'm
Mm-hmm.
not in charge or worried about running a business
Right.
or
Right.
pursuing, 8 full years of college to be able to run that business. So, or get that business. So,
Yeah.
uh, I think CTE is just that that magical combination of academic and real world skills and understanding that leads to wonderfully informed decision making.
Yes, absolutely. And Jim, so as a post-secondary educator, what advice would you have for other post-secondary CTE educators on, the creation of making their program successful?
Well, first of all, most of the people who graduate from college and are in a position now to become teachers probably had less CTE experience than other students.
Mhm.
And they simply may not be aware of that side of the public school. In fact, I might not even say that side, because in almost every school I've taught in, the CTE courses were like back in this corner of the building or that corner of the building. And maybe if it was near the band room, some of those students knew about it, but
Mhm.
uh, it, they probably didn't have those exposures. Now, I'm also a technology and engineering education teacher, tech ed teacher, and I know a whole lot of young people who are pursuing engineering who would love to be a tech ed teacher. There aren't that many programs for them anymore. So I think we have a whole lot of marketing to do in higher ed. And I think we also have to refresh our own perspective on these academic and career pathways that we promote and help young people discover that we can no longer treat college as this one aggregated concept. It's actually many different things and should be to many different people. It can be combinations of things. It can be, you might even start by getting a GED and then pursuing a community college degree, working for a few years, earning the trust of your boss who says, hey, I want you to be the leader of this team, or I want you to open a new franchise, and I want you to finish a bachelor's degree so that you have the confidence and competence to do as well as I think you will. And for all we know, that supervisor may even arrange to pay for that education for that person. It can happen in many ways.
Yeah.
And I want those people who were recruiting students and building programs to be really big and broad thinkers and not just building things that they experienced 20 years earlier.
Yeah. And I think, as you and I have this conversation, it's just naturally progressing into the series of questions that we have for you, which really brings us to the next question. And like, what are words of advice such as support or encouragement that you would give teachers facing current challenges? And you just spoke
Mm,
on that a little bit, so I'm going to ask if you would please address that.
you bet. Well, one thing that I think most any veteran public school educator knows deep in their heart is that our job is to elevate all students. We all come to realize that parents are sending us the best they have. They're not keeping their best at home and sending us their most difficult students. So I think when we embrace that idea that every kid who walks in my door will be better off from the time they've spent with me, and we learn to be our students' advocate when they may be having a tough time in school, that translates into our tough times at school, when they act up in our programs. And often, as we all know, historically, and I hope this continues to change as it has in the last decade or so, our CTE programs were the place where guidance counselors often put young people who didn't pursue a world language or weren't in music. And um, I want to help restructure the middle school schedule so that that doesn't happen as often as it does, but um, demonstrate I would encourage those teachers to demonstrate to their students the way I always did, that I like them even when they act up, or there's something about you that I find redeeming and willing to work with again tomorrow, and we'll do another tomorrow, the day after that, and talk to them like a young adult, set expectations that aren't grounded in punishment, but instead, hey, if you continue to earn my respect, you continue to earn flexibility, you continue to earn voice and choice in what we pursue and how we pursue it. And there have been some students who maybe didn't appreciate that as much as others, but most do. It's a tough thing to do as an adult, but you can. And I know you don't have to be your students' friends or friend, your student's friend, yes. But what a wasted opportunity if you have to be their energy or taskmaster. I want them to look forward to coming into my classroom because they know I'm going to treat them with respect until they no longer deserve it, and then they'll get another chance the next day. But it has worked for me a great deal over the last 20 some years.
Yes. And when you talk about your students and you talk about them wanting to come and wanting to be there, I do know personally, just from having conversation with you, that you have had some great accomplishments in working
Mm.
in the CTE classroom, working with other educators. But what is your proudest moment or proudest accomplishment that you've had in CTE?
Well, you asked me a question earlier, and I wanted to say, the big answer is that chance favors the prepared mind. And
Mm.
I learned that when I was just in my very early 20s on Capitol Hill. And I've had some really opportunities come to me. And because I was predisposed to certain things or certain perspectives or certain roles, I was able to jump on them and build something really good with others who were like-minded. So I'm very proud of my current role. I helped worked with a team to build a lab that we created at Virginia Tech here in the Washington, D.C. area. We focus on technical career and college exploration, then physical computing and engineering, creative robotics, and automation. And we teach mostly 4th grade through 12th grade and their teachers. But our mean, median, and mode is 5th grade. And I never taught elementary before. I've taught everyone from age, I'd say 10 through 80, except undergraduates and first, second, and third grade. But we recently welcomed our 28,000th participant or visitor, and we're expecting to break 30,000 later in 2023. And we've introduced that many people to the foundations of careers and the technical education necessary to achieve those careers. Now, I had some other favorite wins in CTE, and maybe the one I'm actually most proud of is that during my first year, my CTE course had less than 20 students, and of course, that's our ideal enrollment. And I was teaching a double block of CTE, 2 classes of high-intensity English language learner biology, and then a biology course for students who failed 8th grade, but
Mhm.
were likely to cause problems if they were held back in middle school. So we had a special program for them, and all courses were taught in my advanced animal biomedical science lab. I integrated the lab experiences in my greenhouse into my biology courses and got SOL passing scores in courses where there were previously none. Standards-based examinations, end of course examinations. I noticed the CTE biology parallels also worked in reverse. I was getting many students who really enjoyed 7th grade life science, but were disappointed in the microbiology focus of 9th grade, and they really struggled with it. And they thought they loved, well, they knew they loved ecology and they knew they loved genetics, but they didn't like what they were experiencing in 9th grade. So I started weaving those biology correlations
Mhm.
into my CTE course. And it was just like I flipped a switch for these young people who suddenly understood all the how and the why questions, and they could describe all these things at the dinner table with their families. And it was almost like somebody gave them the secret code to how life works. And anyway, I created a map of all my CTE competencies and the parallels in the biology standards. I presented it to the school division science teachers to get feedback from them. The science department supervisor witnessed all of this. He asked me to develop the new biotechnology CTE course. And we submitted both my course and that course to VDOE, the Virginia Department of Education, and they decided to award our double block courses with 1 CTE credit and 1 lab science credit.
Wow.
So suddenly we had all these opportunities to teach students in CTE courses who were very interested in getting that advanced diploma, but often blocked from doing it because of the conflict that going to the tech center created in their schedules. So that led to them asking me to do the same thing for physical therapy and sports medicine and the EMT course. And the school just blossomed. All these students suddenly taking these hands-on technical courses, getting certifications, getting jobs while they were still in high school, an EMTB license before they got into college that allowed them to work in college and ride in ambulances while they were in college. And it just transformed a whole lot of lives. And that was actually, I mean, that was one of those boosts that I got from an experience as a CTE teacher I might not have had otherwise. And then it led to one of the coolest ones. I was asked to help write one of the Mid-Atlantic State's 8th grade and 11th grade science exams with simplified language for special ed. And my colleague and I improved the content validity of the exam questions with real world context that came to me as a CTE teacher. But we also simplified the language while improving the construct validity of the test questions. And after the first year they used our modified simplified language exam, they made a change to teach or to give that exam to all students in the state. It demonstrated their understanding of the concepts with, cutting. Sometimes the lead questions were 90 questions long, 90 words long. And it gave them a real world context in which they were understanding the exam and not getting tripped up on double negatives and crazy things that showed up in those exams.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, you have a lot to be proud of, and we are certainly excited and happy that you are part of CTE. And so, for our last question this
Hmm.
evening, is what part of being an ACTE member do you value most? And what would you say to someone considering becoming a member?
I learned a lot by watching all of my CTE colleagues, both fellow teachers and administrators in Arlington for 17 years. During that time, I had only a loose affiliation with ACTE and my state affiliates, or the affiliate at the state level. When I re-engaged with ACTE and the Virginia ACTE 5 or 6 years ago, um, with teachers and administrators from all over the state, I discovered there was so much more to learn. But I also discovered I had a lot to share or give or provide, or resources or capacities that were in need. And the leaders of my state organization really took me under their wing, and they guided me through multiple roles and opportunities, and were there to whisper in my ear when I volunteered for things because nobody else was doing so at the time. And they probably took advantage of me, knowing that I can't resist an unmet opportunity or unmet need, I guess you would say. But it has really added meaning to my role as an educator. And for that, I'll always be grateful to ACTE.
Yeah. Well, Jim, I tell you, it has been such a pleasure having this conversation with you and being able to congratulate you again on your win as the post-secondary professional of the year. And you wear it well. You wear it so well. And we are so excited for the things that are to come and the opportunities that will be there for you and how you can continue to share with your colleagues and myself and others about just how we're continuing to progress and move forward in ACTE. So again, we would like to congratulate you and thank you for being a part of CTE and your dedication. And we're always here for you and wish you well.
Thank you for all you do for ACTE and for serving as a role model for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, and you too.
Bye.
Bye bye.